Operation Sindoor seems to have moved from being an India-Pakistan war, which it was, and of course it's an ongoing operation, to becoming a political war at home. Even as Congress Member of Parliament Dr. Shashi Tharoor was among those opposition members of Parliament who left India to carry India's message abroad and vowed that this would be a message of unity, at home the BJP and the Congress are name-calling and finger-pointing. The Congress has posed three questions for FM Jaishankar using the prefix JJ, with some interpret to be Jaichand Jaishankar. The BJP has hit back with names like Mir Jafar and Nishane Pakistan for Rahul Gandhi. What even is going on? I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo Story. These images is what the country saw as Dr. Shashi Tharoor, who has become one of the most prominent faces of India's messaging on Operation Sindoor, left for global capitals, including the United States of America. Shashi Tharoor's name, remember, was not in the Congress's original list of names. It was announced by the BJP. Shashi Tharoor has argued that before anything else, he is an Indian first and foremost. But even as Dr. Tharoor said in his comments as he left, that he was carrying a message of a united India against terrorism. Here at home, there is an ugly and unseemly battle that is playing out between the BJP and the Congress. Rahul Gandhi has called Jaishankar guilty of a crime. He has accused the foreign minister of alerting Pakistan before the attacks took place. Jaishankar and the MEA have rubbished this. Rahul Gandhi has continued to pose questions for Jaishankar, whom he has addressed as JJ, not elaborating on what he means by JJ, but the interpretation is that possibly he means Jaichand Jaishankar. In the meantime, the BJP is hitting back at Rahul Gandhi, calling him names like Mir Jafar and Nishane Pakistan. Memes are now breaking the internet, but you know what? It's not funny. This is the time when the country should rise above politics. And it's very, very difficult after the initial, whether you find these memes funny or you don't find them funny. Can we go back to the memes? These are the kind of memes that we are actually seeing on the internet. And at any other time, they may be dismissed as part of normal, healthy political rhetoric. But at a time like this, when bipartisan delegations are abroad, these memes seem unseemly and they speak to a fractured polity. Meanwhile, Rahul Gandhi visited Poonch today to meet affected families who had been hit the hardest in the shelling across the international border and the line of control. And Jaishankar is visiting global capitals where he is shutting down reports of any mediation by the Americans in the halt in hostilities between India and Pakistan. How do we understand this political war? This is a question even as the Prime Minister met with chief ministers from across India at a meeting of the Niti Aayog, including with opposition members, and you can see some of those images there. Let me introduce, that's Bhagwat Maan there in quite a photograph with the Prime Minister. Let me introduce our guests on the program today. Salman Soz of the Congress Party is with us. Salman, good to see you after ages. Dr. Narendra of the BJP is with us. Good to see you, sir. Namaskar. And Neerja Chaudhary, veteran journalist and columnist, is with us. Good to see you, Neerja. I want to start by playing out what Dr. Tharoor said as he left the shores of India. Take a look.
I'm heading off to 5 countries leading an all-party delegation to Guyana, Panama, Colombia, Brazil, and the United States. And the reason we're going is to speak for the nation, to speak about this horrendous crisis we were subjected to, in which our country was attacked by terrorists in the cruelest possible way. We need to speak up with clarity and conviction for our country, for our response, and to give the world the message that we will not be silenced by terrorism. And we don't want the world to look away either. We don't want indifference to triumph over the truth. It's a mission of peace. It's a mission of hope. And it's a mission that will one day remind the world that India stands for all the values we need to preserve in the world today, of peace, of democracy, of freedom, and not of hatred, of killing, and of terror. Jai Hind.
Right. Quite a stirring, simple, clear message there. Let me start with you, Salman, if I may. It's hard to reconcile Dr. Tharoor's messaging with the very bitter argumentativeness that has entered the dialogue between the BJP and the Congress. How do we, before I get into the arguments, how do we reconcile these two these two energies, for lack of a better word? You know, you see Shashi Tharoor, you see his photograph with a bipartisan delegation, everybody's smiling, everybody's in it together. He says Jai Hind, and you feel proud of being Indian because this is an opposition Congress member of parliament leading a cross-party delegations to the US, among other countries, right? How do we square that with the kind of allegations that the Congress is targeting when it comes to Jaishankar, and the kind of language the BJP is now using back? Wouldn't we have preferred the Shashi Tharoor idiom to be our idiom in this moment?
Sure, but I don't think it's that difficult to reconcile what is happening in the country as opposed to what we are doing away, in the foreign policy domain. I think when it comes to the foreign policy domain, when we are taking India's message abroad, of course, we're speaking with one voice, and that is the way it should be, and that is the way it always is. I don't think there's any. I don't think that is a surprise. That's the way it has always been. I think what is happening internally, I think that is not hard to reconcile either, as far as I can tell, because I think the norms of politics have changed, and I don't think this is not the time of, say, Prime Minister Narendra Rao or Prime Minister Vajpayee or even Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. This is a different time. I don't think this BJP is the same BJP that was even under LK Advani. This is a very different BJP. And so I think my own sense is that under Prime Minister Modi, the BJP has basically become a party that plays scorched earth politics. And there's a lot of stifling of dissent. There's a lot of calling people anti-national, as if only BJP people love the country. And I think what that has done is that it has actually pushed the opposition in a direction where we have no choice but to do everything we can to make ourselves heard. And by the way, we clearly have a job to do in the international arena, because I think, let's face it, by all accounts, I think the way other countries have reacted to this crisis, it has not actually shown our diplomatic efforts in a good light, unfortunately. And this, but beyond that, we really have to ask questions. Of course, the terrorists are responsible for what happened in Pahalgam, but do we not bear any responsibility? Does the government bear no responsibility? I remember the time when Mumbai happened, and our home minister had to resign. Our national security advisor had to resign. There was some responsibility. There was some accountability. Now you can't even ask questions. So I think that is not acceptable. I think that should not be acceptable to any opposition. And if anybody says you're playing politics, yes, it's important to play politics, because we don't want these kinds of things to be repeated. If, by the way, if our readiness for Pahalgam, if we were ready, if there was no lapse, maybe instead of 26 lives and 26 families, maybe fewer would have been affected. I think so. Those are important questions to ask, and the opposition should ask them, and the Congress party is asking them. As far as Foreign Minister Jaishankar is concerned, I think this is a very serious, issue. I think his contention now is that he did not, although he did say that his call, or the call to the Pakistani side, was before, he said, at the start of the operations. But now there's some revision in that, and they say, no, it was not at the start, it was after the start, it was maybe on day 2 or 3. The question is, there are hostilities between two countries. Why are we calling them? And then they don't even pick up the phone. So I think the foreign minister also has a lot to answer for, including, by the way, why countries, friend and foe, have not come to our side and taken our side as much as we had hoped.
Can I ask just a brief response from you before I go to Dr. Tayal and Neerja Chaudhary? I agree that the opposition's job is to ask questions of the ruling government. But 2 points to that. One, some might say time, place, occasion. So, for example, Supriya Sule, who's an opposition colleague of yours, the NCP has taken the position that this is not the time for this. This is not the time for debating this in a special session. That can come later. This is not what should be happening while our delegations are abroad and also while the operation is still ongoing. That's question one. Question two to you, Salman. Some of the questions are valid. Why is Trump saying what he's saying? Give us a sense of why he has said what he said 8 times. But you ask that as a united country, right? What is going on here? Why is Trump meddling where his nose doesn't belong? My question to you is, when Rahul Gandhi accuses Jaishankar of giving away war plans to Pakistan, that's when the discourse becomes non-serious. Because I know, hand on your heart, you don't actually believe that Foreign Minister Jaishankar is some treacherous foreign minister who alerted the Pakistanis to this battle and then came and spoke about it on camera. So those are just my two brief questions, if you will respond to them, and then I'll open it up.
So on your first question, I think we have to understand, some context here. I mean, this is not the case where, for example, when Prime Minister Modi, when he was Chief Minister Modi, when Mumbai happened, even as a carnage was unfolding, he was out there grandstanding outside, in Mumbai. I think this is not that. This is after the fact. We have to ask questions so that we don't have any repetition. How do we know that, God forbid, tomorrow some other incident like that might not recur so quickly? So we have to be prepared. We have to basically put the government's feet to the fire so that they're alert. So that I think we are playing the part of being the responsible opposition. We have to ask questions. So I really don't think that it is appropriate for us to not ask questions. I think, and this timing issue is not clear. Clearly, if Prime Minister Modi could do what he did, that drama in Mumbai, this is nothing. This is peanuts by comparison. So I think people may have short memories, but obviously we have not forgotten. As far as the foreign minister and this name calling that you are talking about,
sorry,
Rahul Gandhi has been called so much more for 10, 15, 20 years, ever since he's actually plunged into politics. This is nothing, but this is what we are saying is, what was the reason that you called the other side? And is it possible that because of what we did, that our troops were in harm's way? And Salman, by the way, one other thing, you say, why is Rahul Gandhi doing this, etc. It's almost like, why are you playing such politics? I mean, the Prime Minister of the country is in military kind of fatigues and saluting on posters and trying to take credit at a time when we should be a little more humble and we should be a little more circumspect. So, and not giving any credit to the military, any credit to people who actually put their lives in harm's way.
Okay.
I think this is not appropriate.
Okay, you've made a number of different points, and I have some rebuttal, some questions, but I'll let the others come in first. Dr. Tyal, I'll start with you. Right? Personally, I think even the Congress seems to have not abandoned its initial line of why did Jaishankar give away war plans, because maybe they realize that this is not going to, this is not even a mature line of questioning. But the other question, Salman says that if the BJP is going to make political speeches, why shouldn't the Congress make political points? And beyond politics, their questions are valid. Where are the terrorists who were responsible for Pahalgam? What was Trump's role? Rahul Gandhi has gone so far as to say India's foreign policy has collapsed. Your response?
Thank you, Barkha. I think one of the things which Salman said, I would agree with, because he said that this is not the time of Manmohan Singh, for example, and this is the time of Narendra Modi. So the opposition has been pushed so much to a corner that they are feeling devastated. They have nowhere to go, and it is more of survival that they're looking for some arc light somewhere. And for that survival, if the country needs to be sold, so be it. It seems to be the doctrine which Congress and Rahul Gandhi seem to be giving out. Let us understand that right at the beginning, Mr. Siddaramaiah had said, we should not go against Pakistan. The country knows that. Then they said, why are we stopping? So Shashi Tharoor is saying, good, we have stopped. So can we please understand who is the real Congress and what do they really want to say? We would really want to know this from them. One. Two, to say that there is no such thing, I mean, for example, he was talking about the Mumbai time, that, okay, in Mumbai. After Mumbai, could you believe that Mr. Manmohan Singh, the Prime Minister of this country, said Pakistan is also terror affected? So he put this both of us together, that while India is suffering from terrorism, so is Pakistan suffering from terrorism. Letting them go scot free with that? What kind
Let's
of
talk about
Mumbai are
now.
we?
We'll come back to 2611. Let's talk about what's happening now, Dr. Tia.
No. So I'm just giving,
Haan.
because he referred to Mumbai. That is why
Okay,
I'm
all
coming
right.
to that.
Okay, all
And
right.
we're talking
Okay.
about the fact that possibly the Mr. Jaishankar, he informed Pakistan much in advance. I mean, the DGMO, Air Marshal Bharti, everybody has said. And the interesting part, I found this, that the spokesperson, Pakistan top spokesperson, this is of the Inter-Services Public Relations Director General. He says this is a comical narrative. Now, not just Indians, but even the Pakistanis are calling this comical, that for somebody to say that the information was there, but the terrorists were left there because so that they could be eliminated. 100 of them could get eliminated. So they were left there. I mean, obviously it is comic. So and the people normally that Congress speaks for, because Congress has this habit of speaking for our enemies. I mean, we haven't forgotten when Manishankar Iyer went and said, okay, please support me, oust Modi, to Pakistan. Or Rahul Gandhi all the way seeking money from China, signing MOUs with China, during the Doklam, face-off, going to the Chinese embassy, during Mansarovar, meeting with the Chinese, so on and so forth. The list is endless.
Okay.
The
Okay.
list is endless of the treason of Congress with India, purely for the purpose of somehow getting back into power.
So this is my, with respect, before I get Neja in, this is my problem with both the Congress and the BJP. When we start accusing each other of treason, there is a problem. When the Congress accuses Jaishankar of treason, when the BJP accuses Rahul Gandhi of treason, it means that after that, no sober conversation can actually take place. And I think this moment calls for a sober conversation. However, Neerja Chaudhary, in her column in Indian Express, made the point that everything is political in India. And Neerja, we've spoken about this separately as well. You made the point that for the Congress to not include Shashi Tharoor in its own list, even allowing for the fact that the BJP played a hand of politics there, and preempted them and went straight to Dr. Tharoor. The Congress itself should have named Shashi Tharoor, Manish Tiwari, who were the most vocal voices on this issue, not just at home but also abroad. You described it to be a Congress own goal. Can you elaborate on that?
If all four of us who are on this program were to honestly look at the people in the Congress who would be best placed to be in a high part delegation, which is doing a very important diplomatic outreach to the world about India's position against terror, about Pakistan sponsoring that terror, and what India stands for today, I would suspect we would go in for the people who are actually in the delegation as being very talented, suave, articulate, understanding of the nuances of the situation in India, globally, in the geopolitical region. So, for the Congress not to have, it's not to say those who were chosen
Okay, I
senior.
don't.
Reason for that. I would say, okay, if the BJP was playing mischief and wanted to show the Congress as a house divided, even Congress should have said what you are necessity and said, people lack value to the delegation, we are part of governance. So I think it could have taken the credit. That was my short point. I agree with Mr. Soos. Every single point that they are raising, every single question that they're raising should be raised. Because that's a question on the minds of many, many people. but there is a place to raise it, there's a time to raise it, and there is a manner which you spoke about. If you accuse each other of being anti-national and, as you say, guilty of treason, you can't go further than that. Then it's a complete breakdown between the two sides. There cannot be any dialogue.
Can I ask you, Nija, because you're not on the best network? NCP has made the point that right now is not the time for these debates. There has to be a different time for these debates. They have taken that approach. That's question one. Question two, I think the Congress made two mistakes, in my opinion. I'm sure Salman may disagree. I don't know. Maybe he'll agree. And the BJP, I'll come to the BJP's mistakes after that. I think the Congress made two mistakes, and one was the Tharoor mistake, which you have spoken about, and the other was targeting the foreign minister, accusing him of giving away these battle plans. I think that's when the conversation became very personally abrasive, when you're basically telling the foreign minister that, you're on the side of Pakistan. Then they're also hitting back and say, you're also on the side of Pakistan. So we're in a zero-sum game.
That's
I don't know
right.
if you can hear me,
And
Nija.
if you're the foreign minister, yeah, I can hear very clearly what you're saying. If the foreign minister of India is today in world capitals himself, he's in Germany, he's undertaking very important missions of the country, and you him being soft on Pakistan, here is your 50 delegation, different capitals. They are,
Okay,
this is
sorry,
how
Nija. I can't make out.
Pakistan.
I can't make out head or tail of. I'm so sorry. I'm going to interrupt you because you're on a terrible network. Request you to just rejoin us. But I got the gist of what you're saying. One, you spoke about Shashi Tharoor's own goal. Two, you agree that people shouldn't be name calling each other. Let me, before I get Salman and Dr. Tayal to come in, play out for you. Meanwhile, what Jaishankar is saying, because one of the points raised by the Congress again and again is who took this decision. Now, Jaishankar has said multiple times it's Pakistan's Director General of Military Operations who called us. Yes, we were talking to Americans, we were talking to everybody, but we made it very clear that it had to be they who called us, and that's what happened. He repeated this point in Germany. Take a look.
India has zero tolerance for terrorism. India will never give in to nuclear blackmail. And India will deal with Pakistan purely bilaterally. There should be no confusion in any quarter in that regard. We also value Germany's understanding that every nation has the right to defend itself against terrorism.
After military attacks on both sides, and India, of course, has every right to defend itself against terrorism. The fact that now a truce is in place is something we appreciate very much.
India has zero tolerance for.
Okay, let me bring in Salman there first. Let's assume for a moment, and I would agree with that perspective, that that Trump is being crazy. China has stood with Pakistan. And we have not been able to explain to the Western media that this is not a Kashmir dispute. This is an act of terrorism. And the Western media is still writing from a trope of 3 decades ago. Wouldn't you as an Indian today say, you know what? This is terrible, the Western world's response. It's full of hypocrisy. But it's not about BJP versus Congress. It's about India and how India is being treated by, Western hegemony, Western hypocrisy. They reserve the rights to go and take out an Osama bin Laden from inside Pakistan, but they don't allow us the right to strike at terror bases. Why does it become about the failing of the government, as Rahul Gandhi has alleged?
I will explain this. By the way, just on this other broader issue of why there's so much acrimony and other things that we see in our politics between BJP, Congress, and other opposition. We should also remember because there's so much going on, we tend to forget that all political parties met a couple of times when this crisis was going on. But the Prime Minister did not deem it fit to join these meetings. I think that sends a signal to everybody that for me, this is not important. I'm about this. And I think that kind of mentality, to my mind, that's arrogance. And I think that's not meeting the moment. He wasn't meeting the moment. He was in some ways telling Amit Shah, you go and deal with these people. I don't need to talk to them. Did not pick up the phone to call the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha. Did not pick up the phone to call the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha. So I think that goes to mentality, and I think that mentality is arrogance, which in some ways has, I think, cost us also. This whole idea that Modi is strong and Manmohan Singh is weak. What was Manmohan Singh's response to 2008? I think what India did, to my mind, splendidly, was to totally isolate Pakistan. Totally. Pakistan was on the FATF's grey list. Pakistan was an international pariah. If you look at the trajectory of Pakistan's economy from 2008 onwards, now look at the per capita income, far below India's per capita income. And it is a trajectory. You can see things were going on in Pakistan, and I think that was a direct result of the policies followed by the Indian government. So Dr. Manmohan Singh was never one to take credit for these things, but that's what was going on.
But Salman, can I ask a question there? Do you not look back? Do you not look back at 2611? And sorry, I do need to give Dr. Tyal some equal space, so maybe you could reserve your second point for after he responds. Okay, but I just think when I look back at 2611, or even by Manmohan Singh, even Vajpayee's time, when we look back at Operation Parakram, we had this massive build-up of troops. And do you know that we lost more soldiers in the demining of that exercise because that military action was eventually never taken, because there was constantly this anxiety about possible nuclear war. And one of the things that this time has happened, which Jaishankar repeated, is that this nuclear blackmail is something that India will not give into. Now, Dr. Tyal, when we started with Operation Sindoor, Rahul Gandhi came out and he said, we will stand with the government. In this moment, we stand as one, no matter what happens. It is not clear to me why that changed. Salman Source says it perhaps changed because the Prime Minister did not chair an all-party meeting, which he could have, that perhaps a special, even 1 hour session of Parliament could have been called to pass a resolution, the will of India, the resolve of India, take everybody along. And my own third reason is that the Congress felt outmaneuvered. Salman may not agree on the Shashi Tharoor inclusion. I believe the Congress made a mistake there. And then they got maybe upset and agitated and something changed. But how do we recover from this? Because while our delegations are outside, I don't agree with Salman that, you can reconcile this easily. I think it's very difficult for the world, because we live in an interconnected world, to see our parties squabbling at home and presenting a united front abroad. Because this is not normal time. In peacetime, that's okay. But in wartime, it rankles. Dr. Tyal?
So, Barkha, I mean, if we were to take it from there for a moment, let me view this from the Congress, lens, and say, why did the Prime Minister not chair the all-party meeting? First, it was why the meeting is not being called. Then the meeting was called. So then it was why did he not chair it? So now, for a moment, as an Indian, let me look at it. Okay, from my lens, it seems that the Prime Minister should have chaired it. So because the Prime Minister has not chaired it, I am going to go anti-India. Is that going to happen? Or is that something that we take up later and question the Prime Minister later? Or today we are going to say that, please tell me how many our planes were shot. You, me, all of us, we've been going around talking to the people. If my country is at war, I want to know two things. What is the damage inflicted by me? And are all my soldiers safe? These are two of my questions. No third question. The third question Pakistan is to ask, what damage has been inflicted? And that is the question Rahul Gandhi is asking. I have not heard him ask, how many Pakistan planes have we downed? He wants to know how many Indian planes have we downed. He has not asked, are all our pilots safe? That was given the very first day. Yes, that is the concern of the Indians. This is the damage done and all our pilots are safe. Now, that is where something has gone wrong. While all this was going on, I was reminded of Chak De India, where the kids who have come to play and they say, I'm from Haryana, I'm from Jharkhand, I'm from so and so. and they're told, no, you are from India. But our opposition parties could not rise. BJP could have very well sent a delegation of its own MPs. But we had to give an image to the world, we are all together. And what is Jairam Ramesh saying? It is optics. If it is optics, why are your people going? You are requesting, please include another one. And then you are saying this is optics. What kind of doublespeak is this?
Okay, I think let me pick up the question on the downed planes, because Rahul Gandhi has raised this question, and I think you raise a fair point, and I want to take it to Salman, that right now, and I know you don't agree with the timing, but I am putting that question, Salman, to you again, that right now, when this operation is not over, when Asim Munir has been elevated to the level of field marshal, which signals to me that Pakistan could try something crazy, some kind of crazy adventurism again.
Sorry, that's a typo. They said it's a failed marshal.
Okay. Failed Marshal Asim Munir. Or yes. Okay. Fair enough. We can all agree and laugh on that together for sure. At this time, why does it matter? And I genuinely want to ask you this, Salman. Why should the leader of the opposition be saying, how many planes of ours did we lose? When, forget the government, forget the BJP, forget politics. When Air Marshal Bharti has answered this question by saying, it is a time of combat, there will be losses, but all our pilots are home. I'm quoting him verbatim. Is this answer not sufficient for now?
I think, Barkha, the issue here is that you have to understand the context. The context is that there is a possibility that what the foreign minister said may have resulted in our people being in harm's way.
How? Explain that. How?
Well, you're calling the other side saying that we're going to do something, we're not going to attack the military. And then you're basically alerting people.
It was after the strikes on the terror bases.
No, wait a second. I've said on a different show, I said, let us assume that it was 2 days after the first strike, right? What is the reason for calling the other side?
Can I answer that? Can I answer that not as a spokesperson of any party, but as a reporter of conflict? Can I answer that? My understanding of it, having spent 30 years reporting this as a beat, is that the Director Generals of Military Operations have a hotline, that India's approach was always non-escalatory, that India only wanted to target the terror bases. Having targeted the terror bases, we informed the Pakistani side that we are not going to target your civilian or your military bases. We will leave it here if you will. But when they didn't, we went in with all force.
No.
What part of this is a crime? Rahul Gandhi called it a crime. What part of this is a crime?
By that time, our people in Poonch and Uri were getting shelled. I'm sorry. Yes, they were getting shelled. So there is no point in calling, to my mind, you're just calling the other side when your people are getting killed. What is this? So I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. I know.
But you have imposed a timeline here. One, I would imagine that again, nobody has told us exactly what time this call was made, but it says after the first strike. I assume that after Operation Sindoor was declared, after we had that middle of the night press conference, I assume shortly after that, India would have conveyed a message to Pakistan: if you leave it here, we will leave it too. When Pakistan started sending drones, and I was on the ground, Salman, at that time, into our cities in Punjab, in Jammu, we hit back with all the force and the might we had. Now, why do you see a conspiracy here? I really want to understand.
No, it's not about conspiracy. I'm just saying what is the logic? This is a hot situation. You're not friends right now. You're on the attack. Right? Because you have to be on the attack. There was a terrorist incident and a massive one. Then what's this business of calling? The Prime Minister used to say, "Aap chitti likhna band kar do." Wait, what's the urgency? So, and I'm not saying that the DGMO cannot do anything on their own, right? They have to listen to the political leadership. But beyond that, Barkha, I think if you step back a little bit and look at this whole situation, the foreign minister has some real reflection to do. Our country, look at what has happened. after all of this diplomacy, after all of these trips, after all of these hugs, where are we? We have Russia, an old friend, which is a diminished power, has about 50% of India's GDP. It has 7% of America's GDP. Then you have America, our new friend, which we hope to have much closer relations with. But that friend is highly unpredictable. And if anybody says that Trump is crazy, then they're crazy. You know why? Because he's the president of the United States, and there's a large constituency in America that is inward looking, does not care.
Okay.
And then you have an ascendant, then you have an aggressive China. And China considers your Pakistan an iron brother. So in some ways, what we have to do is we have to rethink everything. And I don't think this government has done anything on that front. And I think that tells us I don't know how.
Okay, you have clapped two different sets of questions. So let's stick first with the first one. I think there is a genuine conversation to be had about re-examining how India's best interests are to be protected in a time when Pakistan is a vassal state for China, when America is showing extreme transactionalism. All right. But that is a separate conversation from saying, because Salman, you know better than this, in every conflict, in Kargil, in every conflict, the DGMOs are in touch with each other. After 26/11, the governments were in touch with each other. Shah Mahmood Qureshi, if I'm not wrong, was in India for something else. I mean, we were ready to call the ISI head here. You remember all of this, right? So I want to bring in Dr. Tayal. Let him respond. We'll look at the foreign policy question separately. Let's not club it all together because it gets very unwieldy to respond then. Dr. Tayal, go ahead.
I think there is one date I want to first remind Salman of. This is 6th of April, 1991. The Chandrasekhar government was in power, supported by Congress, and they signed an agreement with Pakistan that whatever, even exercises, deployments, attacks, all of it will be informed to Pakistan. So today, when he questions this, he has more to answer, which is, I would look at it as treason. That word's been used too often, but I would look at it as treason. If my army is to move, why should I be informing Pakistan for an exercise? But he and the Congress-supported government has signed this agreement, number one. Number two, this is what you rightly said. I'm completely with you on that we struck the terror targets that we wanted to. And we informed Pakistan, look, what we've attacked are non-civilian and non-military targets. So that is what we had to do because of this. So it's your call what you want to take. We are not looking at escalations. They wanted an escalation, they got an escalation, and they got a resounding slap in response of that. So that is the way things are happening. Even US, when they went into Pakistan, they informed them that, look, this is what we've done. That is the way this works. So it is not a matter of choice somewhere. But of course, that is the kind of thing, the agreements, fancy agreements they've been signing. And today, including the water treaty, all those fancy agreements signed by them are, the chicken are coming to roost, and we are having to refute all of those. And that is what is today being done. And
I want to
this one.
Yeah, I want to read out a headline. Since you brought up 1991, Salman will react to that. But I was actually looking for the headline just to see if I was right. One, Shah Mahmood Qureshi was in Pakistan, was in India, happened to be in India when the Mumbai attacks took place, Salman. And now I've pulled out an NDTV article from 2010, which says Zardari agreed to send the ISI chief to India after 26/11. Right? And I'm just going to read this out to you. Pakistan Powerful Army had vetoed Zardari's proposal to send ISI chief to New Delhi that came on British insistence to calm down tensions with India following the Mumbai terror attack. Right? Why am I reading this? I'm reading this just to make the point that every time a terror attack of significance happens, A, the world does get involved. B, there is some sort of communication that takes place either on the back channel or message carrying by other countries. This is the reality. This is not the same as mediation. That's all I wanted to say. So I wanted to pull out what happened after 26/11. and kind of join the dots to what's happening today. On 1991, I'll let you respond. Salman, go ahead.
1991, it's pretty simple. I think he's wrong because BJP, obviously, I think they need to do more research. The government, the Congress had already pulled its support from the government in February, 2 months before this April date. So this is obviously incorrect. So I hope the BJP will correct, could send out a note to its spokespersons that this is not correct. So that did not happen when Congress was there. And by the way, the BJP had plenty of opportunities after that to, 6 years of Prime Minister Vajpayee, and now this is the 11th year of Prime Minister Modi, could have revoked, if that was the case, during Chandrasekhar Ji's time. They could have revoked it, but obviously they did not think it was that bad. Otherwise, they would have done it. So what happened in 1991, sorry to say, this has nothing to do with the Congress Party. Now, as far as this whole idea that people come, obviously these are nuclear powers, and people come together and they try to prevent things from escalating, getting out of hand. We understand that, Barkha. Everybody does. I mean, we all do. But the way the American president basically announced suo moto that this basically conflict was coming to an end, they're going to start mediating, they're going to have these talks on a broad set of issues. And then the Indian Prime Minister, who loves Twitter, loves social media, loves following some of the vilest accounts on social media, was quiet, did not say anything. And I think that was disrespectful to India. To my mind, that was disrespectful to India.
Okay, so now...
and I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying that he should have gotten into a tutu meme with the American president, because that would not be nice. Because we do want good relations. We want excellent relations with America, because I think that's in our...
All I'm saying is that the three of us are old enough to remember 2008. In fact, we're so old that I had to go back and look up the archives because I couldn't remember it clearly. I'm saying to you that if you look at this headline, right, eventually the Pakistan army didn't want this to happen. But at that time, there was a thought to make the ISI accountable. I'm not casting any other motive. I'm simply saying the Brits were involved in the back channels. There was a talk about making the ISI accountable for what had happened in Mumbai. Now, imagine today you are saying that the conversation between the two DGMOs makes Jaishankar anti-national. Basically, this is exactly what the BJP could say about what you did in 2008.
I'm sorry, Barkha, I think you should do more shows about the number of times Rahul Gandhi is called anti-national by BJP leaders. At the highest level.
I am saying I don't agree with either side doing it. I'm saying I don't agree with either side.
You cannot talk about one incident here and you say, oh, this is such a big deal. Whereas the leader of the opposition in the country is called anti-national, his behavior is called treasonous at the highest levels in the BJP. Top levels.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
Well, what are we, children?
Okay, let's take last comments. I'll start with Salman, and then I'll give Dr. Tyal a kind of comprehensive context to respond. Where do we go from here? And dare I ask if you believe that the other parties in the opposition bloc don't necessarily share the Congress approach? These comments are coming more from the Congress than they're coming from any other opposition parties. The NCP's comment I've already read out to you, right? It doesn't look to me that the Congress and the rest of the opposition is on the same page on this.
Look, every political party has to do what they think is best for themselves and for the country. As far as we can tell, what we need to do is we really need to find out how Pahalgam happened, what lapses occurred, as a result of which so many poor families, innocent families, their lives were destroyed. We need to make sure that we minimize. I know it's it's easy to say we are in the opposition and the government has. It's not easy to eliminate terrorism. At the same time, we have to minimize this thing. I think there were opportunities where something like this could have been, if not totally avoided, but minimized. So we need to get to that. Second, I think we have to have some accountability. Who's responsible for this? On our side, we know the terrorists are responsible on the other side, but our government must take accountability. And by the way, then we also need to have accountability for to my mind, there have been some setbacks at the diplomatic level. We need to have some accountability there. And then we need to now reflect on the future. What do we do? Because of the three things, I told you about the Russia, America, China.
Okay.
What do we do for the future so that our interests are protected?
Okay, I must give Dr. Tyal now equal space to respond to all of these points in his closing comments. Dr. Tyal, go ahead, sir.
So I think what the government has done, the government in its form, the accountability that Salman is asking for, the government holds itself accountable on all counts. But what is possibly not being realized, that the LOP also is such a senior position that it is also accountable, that does not go out without accountability. And in times like this, they have to show where they stand. So the timing, to say the timing is not important, the timing is important, and the timing cannot be wished away. At this time, when you say you sulk like a parent whose children have revolted and say, okay, if you want to go, go. This is only optics, but please add one more to this thing. The government is taking you long. Did Vajpayee say this? Did BJP at that time say this? Vajpayee said just one thing: we are India. I'm speaking for India. When I go back home, I'll see what is to be done. But here I am India. That is the sort of thing that is where the LOP also has to be accountable. The war in this time was not just in the air and by the army and by the navy, who fought extremely well, did us proud, but also at the psychological level, in media, in social media, water, money, whatever you have, diplomacy, all of it have been put to use to ensure that Pakistan has nowhere to go. And take it that when the foreign minister has said that we refused anybody else saying arrive at a ceasefire, Pakistan must call us. In any fight, even between two friends, nobody wants to call up and say, okay, let's have a ceasefire. It is a clear indication that I am beaten. And we forced them, their DGMO, that if you want a ceasefire, you are the one who will call. And they called, and we told them that it's a new doctrine that we are giving for India to the world today. Possibly given just by one odd country in the world, that any act of terror henceforth will be an act of war, and we are not standing for nuclear blackmail. That is what India has shown today, that it is not a soft power any longer.
Okay, we leave it there. I would just add, as a citizen with no political skin in the game, that I really hope that this period of acrimony somehow gets buried. I don't know how that will happen, that should happen, but I just think that's what the country needs right now. I think the opposition has a right to ask legitimate questions without attributing motives of treachery in a moment of war to the foreign minister. I think the BJP should be inclusive in its approach and its dialogue with opposition parties. I don't know if that's too much to hope for, but I can say I'm sure all citizens, irrespective of who they vote for, wish for that at this moment. We leave it there. Thank you so much to Salman Soz, to Dr. Tyal, and earlier to Neerja Chaudhary, who unfortunately had a really crackly internet line, so maybe we'll get her on some other time. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.